sense. So let's get going. Hey everybody. This is Olivia. Callie, we're gonna get started in a second here. Callie is sharing it into her personal and some of the other groups. How's everybody doing? I am currently out of town, so I'm not in my normal place, and to my surprise, the internet service where I'm at now is worse than when I'm at home. So I'm so sorry. I just seem to keep having internet problems wherever I go, it seems. So if I seem a little pixelated or a little delayed, I do apologize. I will try my best to kind of keep this conversation going and really try to host the show with Callie, but I'm not in a nice space where Wi-Fi is all that great. So please bear with us and thank you for tuning in and being patient. If you are watching us live now, please make sure that you let us know where you're watching us from. That would be great. So we can do some shout outs. Let's see. I hope you guys are having a great day today. I am currently in Florida, so the weather here is extremely nice. Okay. So we've got hi Wendy from New Zealand, from Micah from Pennsylvania. Hello. We've got Wendy. Oh, it's Will that says from New Zealand. Okay. Wendy from Arkansas. Nick from Fresno. Hi, Jo from Miami. Hello. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful day. It's nice and sunny where I'm at, so I'm hoping that I'm, giving you guys some sun wherever you are as well. We've got hi Gia from Sacramento, Chiming, not from Sacramento. Okay, we've got some Cali people in the house here. All right, Cali, you almost ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Oh, my camera angle's awful as well. I'm so sorry, guys. Nothing is just going as planned. Okay, so welcome everybody to All That Talk Show. I am your co-host, Olivia.
I'm Callie.
And we have actually a pretty interesting show today as, we're going to be talking about content creating and things of that nature. But before we do, I want to make sure I give you guys some updates. There are a couple things that we just, want to remind everybody of. And that is our Mother's Day giveaway. Due date is, I believe, the 28th at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So there's still a little bit of ways left to go, but we've got some amazing prizes. We've got I think we originally only had two prizes, but I think, we have a couple people who really just wanted to contribute to that giveaway. And so now we've got two $100 gift cards. We've got a Michael Kors purse, valued over at $250. We've also got from no one other than Miss Nia Paton. So for those of you who love, watching her and all of her live selling clothes, she has been so generous to donate us some clothes. And so we're very excited about that. I haven't received them in the mail yet, but she did ship it the other day. So I'm excited to kind of see what they look like. Maybe Callie and I will.
Yeah, and then the $100 extra gift card that was donated totally out of California. So thank you.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jor, for that. So again, that is really just you sending us a story of how, your mom has impacted you and made a difference in your life. It's not anything that we're going to show or expect you to put it in, a post or something like that. It's just sending us a DM, sharing it and liking our page and following our page. And so, something nice and easy. Again, it's just a way for you to reflect back on how your mom's impacted you. And then Kelly and I will select a couple winners, and we'll announce it on May 1st. Another quick update on Finding Love with Charm. We've got our second group date, second group of gentlemen who's doing the group date. It'll be going up on Monday. And then we've also have 2 one-on-ones that we're gonna be sharing and having it posted on next week as well. So there's gonna be 3 episodes that we're gonna be sharing next week. So that's kind of what's going on with her. I know there's been a lot of we've caused a whole bunch of stuff that's happened. I know we posted about Joe leaving, and so I'm sure a lot of you have questions. And I think once I get back and have better Wi-Fi, maybe Callie and I will come back and bring Charm on with us, or some of the contestants. We can kind of talk about all the stuff that's happening. A lot of you are questioning why he's leaving and things of that nature. So maybe we'll do a little special on that. But
yeah, and
other than that, Callie, anything else?
Definitely make sure to follow our YouTube. So what we've been doing for the Finding Love with Charm series is that we're linking it. And so when you're watching it, definitely make sure to follow our YouTube channel.
Absolutely. All right, Kelly, let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, all right. So today is a special, just awesome episode. I'm super excited to have, of course, both Dictum Dose and all 4 members of HI. Originally, we were just going to have 3 members. So I'm super ecstatic that all 4 of them are able to join us. And so just a little background on Dictum Dose. He got his BA in psychology from the University of Minnesota, and then he is now pursuing his doctorate in counseling psychology in California. He's passionate about working with underserved and underprivileged populations in the general public at large to improve their mental health and overall well-being. In his spare time, he creates and publishes content on social media to teach and educate about the Hmong culture and language. He acknowledges the intergenerational gaps, incongruencies, and cultural values, and challenges with communication due to varying levels of language proficiency. So he's created Dictum Dose to help reconnect generations through storytelling, explaining ancient proverbs, and encouraging the community to explore the ethnic and cultural roots. And then, of course, we are going to have HI. So we've got Kevin, Jack, Anita, and Brenda, and they are a content creating group that was started back in 2018. They were inspired to create this platform after attending HCon. HI's content ranges from comical skits, short films, parodies, mukbangs, podcasts, etc. They're best known for their music video parody of Mu, aka Sap Sap. Some of their other well-known videos are How Hmong Mikat People Sing and their Shaman podcast series. Not only has HI been invited as guest speakers, workshop presenters for multiple schools and organizations, they have also hosted and participated in virtual concerts and various events. Their mission is to create dialogue, to share and express the love for their community through multimedia. They hope to bring forth more representation of marginalized communities. In doing so, they want to bring awareness regarding multiple issues in an entertaining and engaging way. So please give some hearts for both Dictum Dose and the members of HI.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome.
How are y'all doing?
Ooh, now I'm
Pretty
feeling
good.
nervous. I don't know why, but now I'm feeling nervous.
Feeling good.
Good. Well, don't be nervous. Callie and I won't bite, we promise.
Yeah. That would be kind of scary if you guys can do that over the screen, but I'm glad to have this,
Just a little bit of nibbling. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. I think it's so great to see just like all of your faces, because I'm so used to seeing you on like videos that is just kind of, not as interactive. So it's really nice to have all of you here, and really looking forward to, secretly picking your brains while asking you these questions. So thank you so much for coming on and just sharing with us. And so I guess let's just start off by asking about your name. I'm really curious, right? Because Ilumbe is so important. It really sets a tone, even like each of our names, right? Like when our parents named us, it had a significance of some sort. And so when I think about naming any project or any podcast, any content creating things, the name itself is really, really special. And so let's start with Calvin. Can you tell us a little bit about the name Dictum Dose?
Yeah, absolutely. Dictum dose. I think when you hear it, it sounds kind of foreign. Like dictum dose, what the heck is that? It makes you scratch your head a little bit. First off, I want to just give all the credit to my wife. I think she deserves the credit with the name because she's the one behind the creativity of Dictum Dose, and she does pretty much a lot of that behind the scenes that you all don't get to see. But she came up with the name. We were coming up with some names. I came up with a terrible name that should never have been mentioned. And she's like, nah, let's try this one. And we tried Dictum Dose and rolled the sound a little bit better. But dictum essentially means, dictum is like, the definition of that is like a particular saying or statement that embeds some truth. And then dose is just more like a dose of medicine. And so dictum dose, when combined, is like a dose of like a statement or some telling. And of course, like the family that I share the different messages that I give and like a dosage that I hope to provide. That's where it originated from.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's super catchy and just like one of a kind. Like, you know, and very, you said, like if you break it down, you know what, you know, your platform is about, and I think that's really cool. But was there other names that you had? You said that there were other. I'm curious to see what names you had.
All right, here's the first thing I wrote down: Hmong cultural sayings, and my wife was like, "Really? That's all you came up with?" I was like, that sounded pretty good in my head. And she was like, "No, leave it up to me." I was like, "All right, you handle this part. I'll handle the teaching then."
I mean, that's literally what it was, right? But I do like, yeah, Dictum Dose has a particular feel to it that I'm glad that your wife came up with that and that y'all stuck with that. So,
Yeah,
hi. Of course, since there's all four of you guys, like what was your brainstorming session like when you were first like, how do we name ourselves?
Here, I can just go a little bit about it. We joke about it all the time, but actually we just got together in a study room together and we're just like, so what do we want to call ourselves? We don't want to sound like a school organization either. We don't want to sound like something too familiar. And we're just like, we had this whole list of names and acronyms and we're trying to be like, wordplay with it all. And at the very end, like, I don't even know how long we did it. Like, probably a long time. Like, I felt like that whole session was just talking about our name. And then we just kind of just said, Haisma, Lahu Haisma. Like, we could redefine what Hai means, or like whatever's cool, whatever we put out, it's our content. And Lahu Haisma, and we just kind of like went with it and it just took off. So nothing too crazy or with our names, but that's literally it. We just sat in a room together and just brainstormed a whole bunch of names.
I love that. I don't think people realize how
Sorry, Livy, I think you got cut off. Uh-oh.
No, I was saying I don't think people realize how. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm, yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was going to say, I don't think people realize how hard it is to come up with a name for anything, right? I think just like the purpose of like, you have an idea and you know what you want to do, but I think the naming is like one of the hardest piece. I know that that for sure was for Callie and I. So I couldn't even imagine for the four of you with Hai, because there's four of the brains to kind of figure out and agree what name it is. And for Calvin, I think I'm really glad that your wife helped you out, because I really like Dictum Dose instead of whatever it was that you came up with.
So going off of that, so how did you guys like even start your platform, right? Because there's just so many. I think that sometimes we all have a lot of different interests, and so it's like when you first start something and you're going to put a little bit of time into it. Like, what was the reasoning for you starting your platform?
I can go first if that's fine. Well, I think individually, we all had this, I guess, the spirit of wanting to create content or to just do something that would eventually lead us to creating content. And I think it, fate brought all of us together and kind of just solidified everything after this convention known as HCon happened. And, Calvin was also a panelist at this conference as well. Oh, not conference, convention. My bad.
Convention.
And after listening to Calvin talk and so many other people, who else was there?
Mina, Annie Lee, Van Brooks,
Christian, Bunny Hyung was there.
Yeah, after
The
listening
chef,
to them,
Chef Ia was there. Yeah, there's a lot.
Oh
of...
yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, was the Chef Ia there? After that, then it just we went there with our school, and so with our Hmong student organization, and there was a handful of us, but then again, we just felt like it was fate that put us together, the four of us together out of the whole group, and then we were just like, okay, like we're so pumped and inspired by all the panelists and what we wanted to do and what we were already talking about beforehand, like way before. It kind of was just kind of when you connect the dots and stuff like that, then it's just kind of like, oh, okay, then this just feels right, and we're just going to like do it. And we did it, and we're still doing it.
It's funny because when we look back at photos and footages of us at the convention, there's a photo on our Instagram where the four of us are eating lunch together, and this is like way before we even thought about High. So it's kind of crazy how like everything just like fell into place.
And so did y'all know each other before going to HCon?
Yes,
we
yes.
did.
Yep.
Okay. So y'all had been already talking like, we should do something, or already kind of thinking about that?
No. Actually, no. I think go ahead, Anita. You can go ahead and talk about it.
So we were all just mutual friends. Brenda and Kevin were a lot closer, and then Jack and I were like a lot closer, but we all were around the same circles. At our university, in the Hmong student org, everyone just knows each other. But we never really had an opportunity to like come together and do something at this level. And so I think after the convention and just like talking to other people and just networking, we kind of found out that like the four of us and our like vision for what we wanted to create was very similar. And so instead of doing like four separate platforms, why don't we just do one together? And so it was, I think, Kevin and Brenda who initiated it first, invited Jack, and then Jack invited me into it. So it just kind of rippled down like that.
So then in the beginning, what was that vision? Like y'all were just gonna like come together and create stuff, or like what was the ideas that were generating?
Everyone kind of has like a different in how they like first envisioned High, but now it's what it is, and it's continually growing to becoming where we will like it to be. Yeah, but you guys can share about what your thoughts were of High.
I think it was just like what like who else inspired us as well too, because when we were gonna go to this conference, Brenda and I, we were like in the car driving, and Brenda was like, oh yeah, it'd be cool if we did this, and we made this kind of content, and we were talking about like what is it, Jubilee, right? And everyone else can talk about what kind of inspired them to help them kind of shape this vision for High. And it was just that, it's just like, oh yeah, these are the kind of styles we like and the kind of content that we want to put out. And that's what I thought, at least. So
Jack, anything else to add?
For me, yeah, it was definitely, I feel like a lot of us wanted to, do something that involved with the community. And since we were all located in, St. Cloud at that time at our university, we all kind of just used that community to help us a little bit. So we were able to get some projects from the university to film a couple videos for them. And we were working with some of the community, just like stores, because we worked with VV Bubble Tea. and they're like a local bubble tea shop, and they allowed us to go do a little like advertisement video for them, and even just doing videos around the community with like, I believe it was the LGBTQ fair, and it was at one of our local areas, and we just kind of went there and filmed around too. So we started off, you know, really in the community, and that's why now part of our mission is to, you know, highlight marginalized communities. So yeah.
Love it. And then Dictum Dose, how about you?
Oh, there you go. Mine came out of a counseling class. I was in my class talking about counseling and how to integrate cultural, you know, elements into the conversation, especially in a therapeutic space. And we were talking about like using interpreters and how that can play to the dynamics of therapy. And I think we were talking about like translation, like how some words can be translated, you know, verbatim, and how messages can be missed unless you understand more about some of those underlying messages that may not be outspoken or communicating indirectly in some ways. And so out of that, I started thinking about like, wow, I feel like this is like my revelation. Like, I feel like this is not only realizing this in the therapeutic space, but my whole life growing up as a second generation Hmong American, that I had no idea how to communicate with my parents. And a lot of the messages and miscommunication that came out of that was because I didn't understand what they were trying to tell me too. And so after class, I went to my car and I sat in my car. And at that time, you know, I had my phone with me. I had my handy dandy Samsung S6, and that was my, you know, my equipment that I had at the time. I put it up and I hit record and I just started talking, and I shared a the first one I shared was and after I shared that, like, it just kind of, it took off. And I think that taught me a lot, that there's also people like myself out there who are yearning and wanting to learn more about, you know, these different historical pieces that maybe have been lost in translation. And so after sharing that piece, I just thought, what if I continue to share? Not that I'm knowledgeable in this particular area per se, but it may help other people connect with their parents too, or the elderly, or to bridge some of those gaps that we see in these cultural gaps in acculturation. And so I started continuing. I did another video, and it just kind of took off. And I think Brenda said it best earlier, that when I started this content, I thought about just sharing about Banglu. And when she was saying about, you know, let's just throw the name high out there, we'll figure out the rest later on. That's exactly what I did too, I think. I just started thinking about, like, let me do Banglu. And then in the process of that, I realized, like, this is more of a personal quest for me. Like, I've experienced this way before I started this video. But this started way back then when I was a kid, growing up, and, you know, my experiences growing up, being Hmong, you know, being Asian American, all of this, and it hit me. And as I reflect more, of course, you see my content started changing as well. So everything came out of that class, that one class. It just kind of lit my mind, and I had a light bulb that flashed, and I was like, wow, I could do something with this.
Yeah, so like, speaking of like that first video, like, do you guys look at your content now and think like, I can't believe so many people watched my video? Do you ever have that moment where you're just like, this is kind of crazy?
Yeah, like that first video, I mean, sorry, I guess I'll jump first, but like, I watched my video again, and I'm like, this is like very tamada, you know, it's not like high tech and all the bells and whistles and, you know, like the little animations. I'm like, it's just me sitting in my car talking. I got a car seat in the back, and it's like, who's gonna watch this? But in the matter of hours, like 10,000 views, I was just like blown away. Like, wow, like, what is this telling me? I had to sit with it for a few days. But yeah, I look at it now, I'm like, wow. I mean, who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Hi, how about you guys?
I mean, you know, there's a few videos that we put out there that, you know, surprises us. You know, one in particular is the How Momika people sing, right? Because that day we were all actually being busy doing our own thing. And I happened to be with Kevin, and Kevin was just about to go to work, and I was just getting off work or something like that. And we had a few minutes together, and we're like, oh, we didn't release anything today. Let's just put out a video. And Kevin was just like, here, let me upload this. I did this with Jack the other night, and we're just gonna, you know, put it out there. And it was just, you know, them reading the lyrics, you know, the way How Momika people read it. And then just a quick video, and we just put it out. And again, I think we were all so busy. I took a nap, and I remember I think Jack was also napping or something.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like, it was so tragic. And Nita was at work, and I think Kevin was at work. And then we all responded around the same time. And we're like, is our video like taking off. Like, do you guys see that? Like 30,000 views, 40,000 views, and it just kept going up and up. And we're like, what the heck is going on? You know? So
I had to turn off my notifications at work because it was so extreme. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd really be those videos too that where you're just kind of like, what the people just like what like out of these videos that we do. So that was that one in particular that, you know, stood out to us and really helped us build our platform as well too. So that was really cool. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that actually reminds me, you know, like adding on a little bit here to Brenda's.
Yeah.
It reminds me because before that video kind of like blew off, you know, we kind of all of our other, you know, little videos that we created, we were like getting like, you know, 200 views and eventually 500 views, and we were so happy, you know, like, oh my gosh, well, we all just reached 500 views, and like, you know, we just got like 20 followers and like 10 subscribers. Like, oh my gosh, people are starting to like see us. And then, yeah, of course, when that video blew up and then like everybody was starting to follow us more and like, you know, subscribe more, we were like, whoa, like, okay, something is like, you know, different here.
Something worked.
Something worked.
Yeah.
Everyone loves it and everyone's like sharing it like crazy, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun.
So as far as like content, you know, I think, do you ever get nervous that you're gonna run out of ideas? Like, where do you get your ideas? Especially because there's, you know, I would think that especially with High, right? You guys have 4 of you, and so I feel like sometimes ideas build on top of each other, or they become something even bigger. Like, talk a little bit about that. And then Dictum Dose, I think the same thing for you. Like, if you ever get scared that there's not enough Palu, which I don't think that that's true, right? I think there's probably tons and tons and tons of Palu that we don't even know about. But maybe we can just, you know, kind of talk about, you know, creating content and ideas for content.
Yeah, I could talk a little bit about it. So, you know, I think that we will never run out. Like for High, just talking for High, I feel like we will never run out because the good thing is there's 4 of us and we all kind of bring a different like point of view towards like specific topics or areas. And for High, we don't really have a niche, which is funny because when we first started out, we we're all like, what niche do we want? Like, what's our niche? Like, oh my God, we need to find a niche to get out there. And next thing you know, like we were just doing whatever we wanted and everybody just loved it. And so that's the great thing about being in High is that we don't have to always stick to a specific niche. To like, if we wanted to go do a comedy skit, we can, or if we wanted to do like a horror skit or, you know, just any kind of skit we want to, that we could do it because we're not like stuck on one niche or stuck on
we're
one
not
genre.
limited.
So, yeah, I think definitely for us, I feel like we'll probably never run out of ideas, and it's just kind of like we're open to do anything too. So yeah.
And so where do you get your ideas? Like, do you guys actually like come together?
Oh yeah. So yeah, we do. So I remember our, you know, first couple meetings, it would just literally be us talking about like, oh, funny ideas that we have. And it'll just be random days where we're just having a meeting and just hanging out as friends. But then we'll be like, oh my gosh, like I just thought of a very funny idea. And it's just like, it could be the dumbest thing. Like, oh yeah, like, you know, you could take your shoe and use it as a phone. And the next thing you know, you're like coming up with a bunch of ideas. And then we all kind of add on to each other too. So it's never like, oh, one person has all the ideas. It's always like we add on and someone just jumps in, adds something funnier to it. And you just keep adding more and more and more to it. So that's kind of
one
like
of our earlier skits was inspired and created because of a meme. So yeah, the pregnant skit, it just started off because we saw something online and we wanted to create a visual representation for it, and it came to life and people really enjoyed it. So
I think most of it comes from how we see the world and our type of humor and like how that was developed and like our childhood as well too, because yes, we're different, but then also we have the same humor too, or we get that same humor too that is in High or amongst the 4 of us, you know. And so like even as we're filming something that's like funny, we have something else that's, I guess, even funnier that's just happening like between the 4 of us that we're laughing about it, but it's not being recorded, but as like we're making something. And so even those can become ideas too. And so it really is just everything, you know, from how we see the world, our childhood, and our own sense of humor, and the things that we go through and that we see daily that we can pull and then bounce off with each other, from each other.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I can never just sit down and like let's think about ideas. I feel like ideas like when I wake up or like I'm driving, you know, it's always like these weird times that like ideas come, you know, and then I try to be pretty down with whatever ideas Olivia has, and then anything that she like throws up, I'm like, sure, let's do it.
Yeah, no, I do find those, those times when you are sitting down and you're forced to think of an idea, I feel like it doesn't get as creative, and it reminds me of when Kevin and I were trying to write our Liege Muam skit, which is like, with that cardboard between us and us talking to each other. Like we sat there and we were trying to like write this script out. And I just remember feeling so stressed. And eventually we were just like, screw it, just do it. Let's just start filming and let's just start saying things and we'll just go with it. And, it ended up being a really good one too. But yeah, like I remember, sitting there to think about those skits on the spot and writing it out like that sometimes does give me a lot more stress. But yeah, I mean, I'm just glad, again, like what Kevin said, we have the same type of humor. Everyone just kind of bounces off each other and just feeds on each other's energy. And I think that brings it alive and makes it a lot of fun. The creativity, the skits, our videos. So yeah.
Sometimes it's kind of learned too, because Jack initially had to teach us how to like write like sketches. And so when we all first started, like it was just us like sitting there like just working those muscles until you are so used to it. And now like doing normal things around the house, when I do something like weird or funny and I'm like, this would be so funny for like a skit, let's write something for it. And so once you kind of get into the groove of things, it comes a lot easier. But obviously in the beginning, it's always difficult.
So with like the four of you, what's like each of your skill set that you feel like you bring to the table? And if you're shy, I think we tend to downplay we tend to downplay like our the thing that we bring to the table. So if you want one of your teammates to speak up for your skill set, but I think like each of us kind of brings our little thing to the table, right? So I'm curious what each of you bring to the high table.
Well, I guess I honestly feel like I don't bring much. I just think that I'm just very opinionated. I'm very not opinionated, I shouldn't say. I guess like I'm not afraid to really speak what's on my mind. Like I ask a lot of those questions. I'm like, okay, but have y'all thought about this? Or what about this? What kind of questions here and there? I feel like I'm that person. Just think about like the littler details or the bigger details that we tend to just like skip over. But I feel like I contribute in that way, but I'm not sure where else. I just feel like my energy, my presence maybe, but yeah, I don't know. Not that strong.
I feel like Brenda, she's like definitely not sharing everything. But yeah, I feel like Brenda also, handles a lot. Most of the, like if we have a collaboration, she handles most of the communications behind that. So she'll be the one communicating back and forth. And then we'll update the team about just like what the project is going to be about or what the collaboration is going to be about. And then I guess I could just talk about what I do since I'm talking right now. So I handle most of the videography and the editing. So then like if we were to do like a video shoot for a project, then I'm usually the one behind the camera handling all that and operating that. And then when we're done with the filming session, then I handle the post-production as well. I edit everything and I put it together and then I render it out for us to put up on social media.
And I do pretty much everything related to audio, whether it's like, it doesn't always have to be music too. And then, but if it is for like videos, then I would like mix that and then send it over to Jack so he can put that in the video. If we're doing music, then, I would put, the demo together so that, we can sing. For example, Stop Stop, right? I would have to just like do a quick recording of Stop Stop. I'm like, okay, Anita, here's your part. Jack, here's your part. Brenda, here's your part. And because we're going to be harmonizing for this part, I have to do all the harmonizations, but then in the studio, show them what I'm referring to because I only had my voice to go off of, right? Stuff like that. And yeah, that's mainly what I do.
I mainly handle a lot of our like social media especially our Instagram accounts and Facebook stories and things like that. So a lot of the behind the scenes is usually me capturing those moments. But I feel like all of us are so intertwined and we kind of jump on everything. Each one of us have a certain platform that we focus on, but overall, like when we meet as a team, we do everything together too. So sometimes I film, sometimes I'm behind the camera for photo shoots and stuff like that. Yeah, we do a lot of things together. So, and we learn from each other too, from those skill sets.
Sometimes Brenda edits too. She edits videos as well too. So
yeah,
not as much, but yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think I'm a believer in partnership, which is why I have Olivia and we lean on each other, and we're starting to kind of establish, I think it's nice to kind of specialize that way. One person, they can just get through a whole bunch of stuff. But with Calvin working all by himself, how do you generate your ideas? Do you get scared that you're gonna
and you scared him away? Hold him on the spot.
He got scared.
He said, I'm a one-man team right now. I gotta go. Oh, all right. Well, hopefully he makes his way back in.
I know. We will continue with maybe I'll ask him like a really easy question. That way he won't get scared. We have been having all sorts of connectivity issue. Olivia isn't here with us today because she is out of town, and having connectivity issue as well. And so please, everybody. Oh, I think there he is. Give him some hearts. Would y'all please give him some hearts? Maybe that will
Welcome back, Kelvin.
I'm having some issues with my Wi-Fi. I apologize. Oh my goodness, it's driving me insane. I'm over here sweating bullets. I'm like, what is going on here?
I know, you keep disappearing. I was talking trash. I was trying to have you.
I apologize. I'm not sure what's going on, but things seems to be much more stable now. I changed network, and so I should be okay.
Okay, that's good. So do you want me to repeat the question, or do you recall what I
Yeah, if you will, please. Like I feel like I'm lost now.
Yeah, definitely. So where do you get your content ideas? And then just, if you can talk about, anticipating which videos might get the most views. Like, do you kind of prepare for that of like, ooh, this is gonna be a good one? Uh-oh, Calvin.
He's feeling threatened again.
I know.
If this is from his house, he can't complain.
He can't write that letter like Olivia.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh my goodness. I don't know what's going on.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
We can hear you. Okay. I'm going to let you talk. I'm just
All right. Here we go. So how do I come up with the content? I think that was a question. First of all, the boundary that I share is none of mine. Like, I don't come up with it at all. A lot of this I learned through my parents. I think growing up with them, I talked about earlier that, they teach us. They speak to us in Hmong. They're refugees that come here. And so I hear it a lot, and I never understood what it meant. And so most recently, I just started like thinking to myself, like, why is there this, this disconnect between our communication and what do these things mean when they keep saying it? Because I hear it pretty often. And so I asked my parents about it, and they shared with me. And after, learning more about it, I just have this, this feeling of being eager to learn, wanting to learn more. And so I get all of this from my parents. My parents, my mom, my dad, they share a lot of family with me. We sit down, we have conversations, we talk about it. I learn from folks that I interact with as well. When I go to different places, and I say this to all the fans too on my page a lot, that Dictum Dose wouldn't be what it is if it weren't for them. I get a lot of suggestions from people. They private message me, say, hey, you should do one on this, or you should do a skit about this. And so just, collectively, we all put this together, and Dictum Dose is more of a community. I feel like everyone has a part that they play. And what we're doing here is, as a community, we're trying to learn and understand more about who we are as Hmong people and how do we show up in this world. Other areas I get content from is my wife. I mentioned before that she is the backbone of Dictum Dose. She gives me a lot of good ideas. You should say like this. You should do it like this. And then my kids. I have 4 young kids, and they teach me a lot. And I pull a lot of things from our interactions. Like one of my most recent video is the stating the obvious. Like it's so obvious, but why do you ask? So like my kids would come to me like, Dad, are you eating noodles? I'm like, no, I'm actually drinking tea. They're like, what? They'll give it a look and they'll run off. I'm like, I should make a content about that. Because I know Hmong people, we do that too, right? We do a lot of that. They'll say like, oh, law. And what they're really asking is, can you actually help me? But they don't want to directly ask, can you help me? And so, you know, contents, they come out here and there. I think just being attentive to like my experiences, you know, that births a lot of different contents that come out too.
Yeah. So with, you know, you just mentioned your 4 kids and you're married. And so how do you all, and then, you know, I know with Hai, you guys are either going to school or working full time. None of us are doing this full time right now. And so how do you, like, when do you do this? Do you do this at like 2 a.m.? Do you do this on the weekends? Do you do this like, when do you find the time to sit down and do all of what you do?
I can jump in. I don't have a whole lot of time. I'm super busy. I'm a student. You know, I'm a son. I'm a husband, a father. I have all different hats that I wear, and I change throughout the day. But I think for me, I mean, clearly, like if I look at Hai's content, I look at my content. Hai is like specialized in like animation, and everything's just so like nice. And I wish it, you know, to be able to get to that level one day. But for me, it's been more of a convenient, you know, being able to just kind of utilize what I have in the moment. And capturing the moment, because when it's fresh in my head and I know what I'm talking about, I need to capture it. Then otherwise I lose the content. Like when I write it down, I have it, but I don't have the emotions and the feelings that come along with it, and I can't articulate it correctly. So my phone really is my best friend. Whenever I feel like there's a content that I want to capture in the moment and it's fresh in my head and I want to be able to put it out, I just pull out my phone, and that's what I do is I record from my phone directly. If I have time to formulate skits and things like that, then I use something else that helped me, you know, to do it too. But for the most part, I just go with the flow. Whenever I feel like something would be good content, I put it out there.
Yeah, for us, for Hai, we kind of just, so when we first started out, we met once a week, but now to where we are now, we meet twice a week. It's usually every Monday and Tuesday. We always like at a certain time, whether that's like 7 p.m., we always meet. And then we go through everything that we've kind of like talked about or are planning to do. So then we write everything down, we discuss it, we plan it out, like set a specific date for it. And, you know, we make this almost like a organization, right? So we, you know, talk about everything and plan everything ahead of time. And because we give ourselves 2 days within a week, then that allows us to talk about it one day, and then on the other day we could use it as a work day to kind of just, you know, work on any projects that we have or write out any emails that we have or collaborations. And that's kind of how we just kind of keep everything organized. But yeah.
So it's kind of nice because like for us, we would have or actually we use Google Docs, you know, and then we write everything down. We talk about everything. So yeah, it's nice that we do set out just 2 days just to I guess I don't even know, to manage our time. So, and we are all very flexible with each other. We're kind of, you know, saying, hey, like, oh, you work at this time. What time does work for us every day? You know, what classes do you have? Are we able to do another day, an extra day, you know, within the week to get together to film another day, you know? So it's always nice that we can all communicate and be flexible with our schedules as well too. So, but we're very mindful of, you know, we all have our own lives. It's just 4 of us that we all have to consider. But sometimes, you know, it not all 4 of us could be there, you know, so that's something that it's unfortunate, but yeah, it's really nice that we're just being very mindful of each other. So
we say we meet twice a week, but it is like a 24-hour thing. We're constantly like in the chats with each other, responding to comments and any collaborators. So it's like, it varies. Sometimes we're up at 2 a.m. respond or like looking at emails, and other times we're going to wait and reserve it for our meetings on those designated days too. So.
And recently, because we were so busy with something, with a project, we would be like, okay, y'all, a week break from Hai. We don't talk about Hai for 1 week. And then we were even joking 2 weeks, and we're just like, that sounds so good, but let's just do 1 week and see how we feel. And it feels good because Anita High, it is like 24/7, and it's our 3rd year now, and I think we're all just so surprised and happy that like and so it's
mental health breaks.
That 1 week break was pretty hard too, though, because just even though it was nice to take a break from projects, it was weird because we're always in constant like conversations with each other. So when we came back from that week, I was like, wow, I feel like I haven't talked to you for so long. But it's only been a week that we haven't like talked online. So it's really funny, and it's really nice to be able to work in a team with all your friends. So.
Do y'all feel like y'all have pretty good boundaries with, or do you feel like it kind of bleeds into your life? I feel like with our talk show, like it definitely bleeds into, I feel like my life is the show, is work, is family, kids, like everything is just kind of together. Do you all feel like you're good with your boundaries? Like this is my time. Like you said, we meet 2 days a week. It's dedicated, or it's all over the place.
So we're pretty flexible with everyone's personal schedules, and we understand that everyone does wear a lot of hats, and things do come up at times. But I think I can speak on the 4 of us where we're very passionate about this, and because we're that passionate and that invested in it, like we try to make sure that our meetings are never canceled, and if they are, just communicate that with us. But does it bleed? I feel like it just slowly creeps in if the 4 of us are together, or we're just at like events together before COVID, but but if we're just together or just doing little hangouts, naturally that creator in us and all of our creativity just kind of wants to make a video out of anything. But I feel like even for our dedicated meeting times, we'll take an hour of that time to just talk about like everyone's like well-being and catch up on just what's going on in life. Because again, we're friends and we try to separate as best as we can, of course, but we're only human too. So things do creep in sometimes, but we try to be as professional as possible.
Calvin, how about you? How's it with you're going for your PhD right now, so there's definitely a lot on your plate. Do you feel like it kind of affects your life, or do you feel like you're pretty good about, okay, like I got to focus on writing this thesis. I can't be just, thinking about ideas. I feel like sometimes you have to do something, right? Like when you have another job that you have to get done, the ideas just come, like they just come like waterfall, but you can't do it. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, it definitely is a hard balance, trying to find work-life balance, content creating, integrating that into like my daily routines. I mean, it's hard to set boundaries just because like there's so much content and I want to put so many things out. But you're right. I think when you mentioned that I have a lot going on, I do have to set some hard boundaries. My page has not been as active as I would like it to be. I think, maybe 6 months ago, I probably put out content like something like once a week. But I've yet to be able to do that because I feel like right now I'm just so occupied with so many other things that my headspace is just, preoccupied with so many different responsibilities. As a father, again, as a husband, as a student, I have so much going on that unless I set, those hard boundaries and being able to find some balance, I'm gonna crash. If I crash, everything else crashes. My page crashes, my life crashes. And so I have to kind of, delegate my efforts into things that kind of matter at the most at the moment. Like right now, I'm so close to finishing school that I have to dedicate my time to school. And I can put Dictum Dose away for a little bit and I will come back. To all the viewers who's watching, it's going to be much more dynamic, hopefully, when school's done. But I also realize that my kids are very young and my interaction with them and my presence with them, physically and emotionally is very important for their developmental state too. So I also want to be there as a father for them. I'm married, like I mentioned. I want to be there for my wife, being able to still foster, a good marriage, a good relationship with her too. So it's hard to set those boundaries because I want to do so much. But when looking at the big picture, it helps to be able to set those boundaries for the sake of other more important things at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so many things that you can be doing at one given time, and I think it's really important to make sure that you prevent burnout by just getting
Hmm.
you take some time away as well. So let's talk about just gears and software and anything that y'all use. So when Olivia and I first started, we literally like just used our laptop, and we used to have such bad audio. I mean, it was bad everything, right? We didn't have webcams, like the quality, and not to say that we have great things now, but I think like I'm sure you guys look back and you're just like, wow, like we have improved. So can y'all talk us through just gears that any cameras, any phones, any video type of thing that you've used in the past, and then the transgression of that?
I'm gonna go first because if Hai starts talking, I'm gonna feel like I'm like I don't belong here anymore. Like their content is so much better. Like everything's so much better in terms of like the creation, the creativity. But for me, like I start off with my phone. I had a nice little Galaxy S6 phone, and that's been like my go-to. And then I upgraded to the Galaxy Note 8, and I was super proud that I made a advancement in my technology. And then I recently graduated to using a Canon G7X, which I really like. It's very handy, it has good quality. Obviously not the best, but it's still an upgrade. I think gimbals help too, especially when you're walking and trying to find balance. It helps a lot. And I think something that I most recently upgraded to is my mic. I think that's very important. I think sound has to also match the quality of your work too. You can have a nice quality video, but if the sound is trash, then it's not going to be the best product to put out there. So I think there's a balance in that. I'm learning. I'm learning as I go. If anybody has any tips, Kevin, Jack, Anita, Brenda, if all of you have any tips, send it my way. Kylie, you and Olivia, let me know so I can upgrade my old, according to my kids, technology and whatnot. But yeah, that's me.
I mean, we all start somewhere, right? I mean, I think your content is so you, though. Whatever you put out, the way you film it, the way you do it, it makes your content you, and that's why I love it. Because I mean, earlier you mentioned like you're doing something and you take out something and you just film it. Like I remember watching a video that you were outside. I don't know what you guys are doing, gardening, and you just pulled out your phone, and it was just kind of like, dang, he just thinks on something on the spot, and he's just going with it, just uploads it, and I love that. It's so raw, it's so genuine, and you. But and that's okay. I think for anyone, if that's your kind of content, the way that you put it out, people might like that. That's your personality. But going back to what kind of gear did we use? Like we didn't even, we were all students at the time, and we were kind of like, I mean, we're broke college students. So we were like, how do we even do this? So we just utilized our resources on campus and just rented stuff out. And we can only rent it for a certain amount of days, like 2-3 days, rent out cameras, rent out mics, and obviously we didn't know what we were doing. At least I didn't know what I was doing. So Jack kind of like knew more of that. So we just utilized our resources and we just kept borrowing them. And then sometimes we couldn't rent them out. And so we're just kind of like, oh, well, now we don't have anything. Oh man, that's kind of hard, and we kind of came down to it. So we're like, how do we, gain some kind of income to save and start buying our own things so we don't have to depend on these resources all the time. But of course, utilize those resources when it's there for you. It's free. It was easy to rent those things. So that's how we first started, and then eventually carried on to our equipment. But someone else could talk about that as well too. So
yeah, I could talk about it, I guess. Okay, so yeah, so we start, like Brenda said, we started out with cameras from our university library. And then we eventually made an investment to get a Lumix GH5, which is not, I would say, okay, I guess it's pretty high end, but it's not like, of course, top tier or anything.
It's high end.
Yeah,
it's expensive.
We use that to kind of launch. And the first video, you can tell that we have a new camera with Sop Sop. So new. That was when we got our our very new camera, and we were like, oh, we're doing such a big project too. Let's just use it and wait until we get this equipment. And so we got the equipment, and then of course we also bought other equipment too, like lighting and some lapel mics. And we were just like, oh yes, we're finally moving on to the next level, and that just allowed us to enhance our quality in videos, right? So we are having better sounds, better visuals and everything like that. And from there, and even today too, we still continue to constantly research about like, oh, the different the different equipments that we could potentially get, you know, like whether that's a drone or a, you know, better high quality camera, or maybe just having other cameras there, or maybe a boom mic, or just a lot of different audio technology as well. So we're constantly like doing research and finding, okay, what's the next best thing that we can get that can help us elevate our, you know, content without also breaking our budget too. So we always kind of plan that out and we budget ourselves based on that too. Yeah.
And it's good to just have like this personal, I mean, like to have this knowledge for yourself personally as well too, and not just for High, because then what if someone were to ask us as an individual, then we would have that knowledge because of High, you know, and the fact that we already we like to do things outside of High that also in a way relate back to High, like what if we want to stream, like, or what if we want to do music, or what if we do like shooting videos, and what if we have like other personal projects that involve those things, right? Then this is useful and really helpful for us. And then again, it's just like diving yourself into like that work and being like very passionate about it, because it's like one thing to, you know, go to class and do the homework and stuff like that, but then it's like, well, are you gonna sit there and like really like research it and like put yourself in it and stuff like that? And so it's really important to understand like all the tech and all the lingo, you know, at your own pace, so that you can digest it, so that you can essentially, because you want to help yourself, right? Because no one's going to do it for you, so you're going to go do it because you love it that much. And so when we did know about these things a little bit beforehand, or whether we did not know about it, you know, it's stuff that now it's just kind of like, okay, then let's learn more about it. And it's like, well, we can't do that because we already know this. And it's like, oh, at least, you know, those dots they just make sense, you know?
So we use Adobe Premiere mainly to edit a lot of our videos. And Jack's pretty well versed in that. And if we don't ever know, then there's a lot of resources available on YouTube if you don't know how to do certain filters and certain effects. They have YouTube videos available. And so I remember when Brenda and I had to work on a project alone, and it was without Jack and Kevin. We had to sit there and manually learn how to do these effects and stuff. So, you know, we're still learning too. We're not the best at anything. And I'm very thankful for my team, because without them, I wouldn't know as much of the details that I do know now. And so they helped me with buying my own mic, like this mic right here. It was because of my team that helped. And so I didn't even know the difference between a USB to a what is it? The XLR mic. Yeah, there's a difference.
Yep.
And quality of microphones and quality of headphones, different frames per second for different types of cameras. What is difference between 1080 and 4K? You know, little things like that. I think going in, especially if you want to create very high quality content, you do need to do your research and connect with other creators. We joined a Hmong YouTuber page, and everyone on there kind of just shares their helpful tips too. So that helps in connecting with other communities. Definitely will aid you in creating better content. So.
Yeah, and just for all the, you know, anybody that wants to create content, I feel like you do kind of start where you are. It's better to start, right? Than to be let me wait until I get this camera.
Yep.
I used to have this interest in photography, and I was like, I'm gonna get the best camera, you know. Not that I have a great camera, but I think it was $600, and I have never touched it, you know. And so it's just unless I see myself actually doing something with it, right? But I think the point is just you have to start, and then start actually creating content, and then see where you go, and start improving the tech and stuff, versus saying, you know, let me just wait until I get this very nice, you know, because I have this vision for it, just
you know, you could
Mhm.
and then you also don't know, you know, like how, you know, because when we got our mics, that was when we saw the improvement, and then we got excited, you know, and then we got the webcam, like it
Yep.
was better, and then we got more excited, you know, and so each of those things kind of layer on and gets us like excited to like improve the quality. Yeah.
Mhm.
Actually, we were really inspired when we went to HCon because Kelvin was speaking, and knowing that he creates content with just his phone, I was like, wow, what is stopping us from doing
Yep.
this too? Like, why can't we do it? Do we set these restrictions for ourselves if we can't create that content? Like, that good
Mhm.
stuff will come eventually. We just need to gain the skill sets now first to help us build a platform that's strong enough so that the stuff in the future that comes is going to be a lot better. And so I think when we first started out with a lot of videos too, Brenda and I had iPhones, and we would like use our iPhones to film certain like behind the scenes or just photos for High. And then thankfully over time we were able to buy our own technology and stuff. So
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about content creation and or even in the context of like devices or software and all that, I always share with my kids too that there's 3 different ways to learn. You know, you learn by number 1 being a student, having a teacher teach you, and then number 2 you also learn by observation. You learn through observing people, like in this case here, observing other content creators and how they're doing their things. But the most important thing is number 3, which I think is something I always emphasize to my kids and whoever I meet too, is you have to have that experience. You got to try it. You know, someone can teach you, someone can do something and you observe, but unless you try it out and actually do it, you won't understand the nuance that's involved with all the content creation. So don't wait until like you have something nice. If you have the idea, you have the vision, try it. That's the only way you'll find out whether or not it's good or not, or people like it or not. I think it's that first initial step of just doing it that's going to really tell you whether or not this is good content. So don't let definitely for the viewers, don't let the software, all the technology stop you from putting out your products.
Yeah, so this is a great leeway into just like advice for, you know, anybody that wants to create content. What would, like, if you just had one piece of advice to give, what would you say that would be?
ooh, that's a good question.
To ask questions. I feel like a lot of people are scared to just like ask questions and to be vulnerable and to look stupid. But then it's like, but that's the kind of breakdown you want people to give you though, so that you understand. Because if there's a term that you don't understand, well, yeah, first of all, did you look it up? And if you still don't understand it, and when you have the opportunity of talking to somebody who could possibly explain it to you, and as they're explaining it to you the best way that they know, just say, well, I don't get that. I don't know what that is exactly. Like, I don't get it. Like, is it like this? And so throw out what you think you know of it out there so that you can find a common ground for yourself, because it really is just how much you want to know and how much you want to learn, again, at your pace and how much you want it. So it's like, are you going to keep asking until, you know, you finally understand, like, oh, you know, I don't understand what this term means, or how do I look at this like concept and like kind of like break it down. And there's so many examples of that, you know, especially when it does come to like editing films or like, you know, color correction that Jack does, or when it comes to like mixing an audio track that is like you're just trying to make it sound better, right? And so and yes, you know, a lot of these things are subjective, but also there are, I guess, to have a base like line to like understanding of like where to kind of start off from, instead of just like, okay, so you have all these knobs and dials and buttons, and it's like, yes, one way of course is to just do it, just start twisting, turning them and seeing what they do. But also then it's like, okay, then why are they here, and what happens if you do that to them, you know, and what are you trying to do with them and stuff like that, and why are you saying that I shouldn't turn this all the way up here? Why should I, you know, turn it down here if this one's turned up, you know? And so it really is just asking questions, and then also throwing yourself out there, and yeah, again, just pouring yourself into the work, into the questions.
I'll just say something really quick. I think be kind to yourself. You know, you're your biggest critic, and just remember that when you're putting out content, just be real. You know, what kind of content do you want to see out there? What kind of content do you want to put out there? So just be kind to yourself. It's okay, you know, to make mistakes. You learn from it. And people are out here trying to do it just like you, okay? You know, so it's like we're all trying to figure it out here. So just be kind, and you'll figure it out. You know, we still haven't, I feel like we haven't figured it out yet. We're still just doing whatever we're doing. So having to remind ourselves that, hey, we're just being ourselves, and we're just going to keep doing what we do, and we can do it, you know, and just having each other, be there for each other. If you know, support on one another, lean on others if you're a one-man team like Kelvin. But yeah.
I agree. I would have to second that. I think, you know, becoming a content creator, you have to give yourself that permission to make mistakes. And I think a lot of the reasons why people are holding back from putting their product out is that fear of putting something that's not perfect, something that's not good enough. And I think being the high achieving individuals that we are, we want to put out the best of the best. But sometimes that hinders us from releasing any of our product that's already good enough. And so giving yourself that permission, I think, is the first step. I also think, I just lost my train of thought now. Oh gosh, what was I going to say now? Wow. Okay, I'll come back to it if it comes back. Someone go first, and then if it comes back, I'll share it.
Yeah, I got you. I'll cover for you. Okay.
All right, Jack.
Mine is a little bit different, but you know, adding on to the whole advice and everything, you know, I think for people that are starting out, to not be afraid of asking, similar to Kevin, you know, not being afraid to ask for help, right? And you know, there's this business term that I've always, you know, I learned about, and I've always kind of like stuck to it, is outsourcing. And you know, if you don't know how to do specific things, you know, there's always people around you, or there's always someone out there that knows how to do that specific thing, and you could always ask for help. You know, like for us, maybe we don't know how to draw or make, you know, great animations, or like don't know how to do like a specific kind of drawing for logos. We definitely, you know, outsource to other people. So then we ask friends or families, saying like, you know, if you know how to draw art or things like that, you know, we would really love your help, and you know, we'll compensate. Or if we don't have, you know, compensation, we can always, you know, ask for, you know, a volunteer work, and we'll like help share and help, you know, get you out there as much as we can to kind of bring that value to it too. So I think outsourcing is definitely a tool to use when you're starting out as a content creator.
So I would, my big piece of advice would be like, be authentic, embrace like all that you are. I think we started out, like, for me personally, I started out really worried about how others would perceive me and how I wanted to like project myself online, right? Because with this platform, I knew that there's a lot of eyes and a lot of critics are gonna be there to see it all. But I embrace the goofiness and, you know, all that crackhead energy vibes. Thankfully, again, I always say, like, I love our team, and that's why naturally we're able to bring out that chemistry in front of the camera, and just showing different parts of ourselves that a lot of times, like, a lot of friends and family didn't even know, you know, when I'm with Hai, like, it's like, that's kind of how things really are. And a lot of people don't get to see that. So it's interesting to kind of see that come to life, and now it's like captured and on the internet forever. So I can look back on it, and it's kind of a little capsule for us to just kind of look back on.
I knew that's exactly what I was going to say. You took the words right out of my mouth, and you said it so beautifully. And I think that's exactly true to, you know, to a high degree, that sometimes we watch another person's content or we see something, we're like, wow, I want to be like that person, you know? And I think that's, you know, automatically that's where our mind goes. Like, I want to be like that person. I want to be like that. And I think we get lost in the mix of trying to be like that person if we forget about who we are as a person. And I think it's okay to like another person's content, to appreciate it, but not to fully, embody that person, because you might not be that person. But to feel inspired by their work is another way I would put out there, that to be inspired by the work, to try to do something because of the inspiration you receive. And then through that, also putting yourself out there, being the most authentic self. I think when we try to be someone else, or we're not fully attuned to who we are as a person, we stumble over our words, or we're scratching our heads because the content's not fitting, because it's not fitting with who we are as a person. And so definitely, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. And then Calvin, you said something a while ago about the best of the best. And so I'm really curious if you, thinking back to each of your most viewed videos, if you measure everything against that, and if you're always kind of like trying to like up that, right? Like that becomes like the standard, and you're like, man, we gotta like create something to like even up that, like that would be the ultimate, and that becomes like your measure. So do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I do. I think like, because obviously people when they see us, they think of, oh, Sop, it's those Sop people, I kind of joke about it. I'm like, oh yeah, we're a meme, like to the community, we're a meme, and I kind of like, slowly embrace on that, and it's kind of like, that's what they kind of think of us, but it could be hard sometimes. But yeah, I always think like, oh, what's gonna be the next thing? Like people are probably gonna expect us to do something bigger and better than Sop. So I'm always thinking about that, because that's the only thing sometimes people only know about us. They only see us as Sop. They don't see us for all of our other content, and we do a lot more than that, and it's a lot more fun. Our podcast and our other videos that we've done, like I love that so much. And it's like, oh man, they only see us for Sop, and we have to do it. But of course, you listen to your audience, you listen to your community and your supporters, and like you do want to bring more of what they want to see, right? But you're not completely shutting them down. But it's like, oh, I hope I don't disappoint, or but it's like, hey, look at us, we're also still doing these things too. So of course, I hope that our fans and our supporters see that as well, that we also do all these other things, and as much as fun as it is doing Sop as well, but.
And going off of that, because we do so many different things, then it's like hard to compare them, I guess, but then it's like, okay, well, if we're going to do like another music video parody, specifically like referring to Sop because it is what we're most known for, then it's like, okay, then what are we going to do? But because we do so many things, and it's kind of like, well, we can't really compare them, because we try to make the best out of everything that, we do, which is why we get so tired all the time, is because we put so much work into everything. And so it really is just, I guess, doing whatever we do, just do our best in it, so that it can have its own space in, our portfolio. And yeah.
I think a lot of the times too is not to like fixate on the numbers. I know that it is a like online platform, and so it does matter, and your revenue does matter based on like the view counts and subscribers and followers. But just put out things that you like and things that you want to see that's out there, because if you're going to worry about who's going to be tuning in, you lose sight of what your vision originally is, and which is to just simply create, right? So if another viral video goes off, then we're very thankful. If not, that's okay too. We're okay with just what we've already accomplished. And every time we focus less on the numbers, we get more surprised by the numbers. So
I would agree. I feel like content creation is so like dynamic. You just never know what to expect, right? Like you think this is the video, you put like hours and hours into editing and creating it, and you put it out, you're like, what? 1,000 views only? Like, what happened? And you go back and look at some of those other videos that have like hundreds of thousands of views. You're like, that took me like a day or like a few hours to do. Like I scratch my head all the time, and I can't figure out like what it is about these videos. What is it that, draws the attention of our audience? But at the end of the day, I think as long as I agree with all of you that you feel comfortable and you feel happy with your product, that you are staying true to the reason why you started in the first place, that the message and vision you're still casting is still there. And I think at the end of the day, for me at least, as long as it's still there, and the people who are there to, to relate to that are watching and getting what it is that it first started with.
Awesome. Okay, we do have a viewer question from our very own that I think we should take. So Olivia says, what's the biggest challenge for you so far, and how did you overcome it?
I can go first. It was singing online and having people listen. I never karaoke'd before, or I mean, I feel like I talk about this all the time, but I don't sing. Out of the four of us, I'm the worst. I'm terrible. I'm really offbeat. I'm not like tone deaf, but I'm just always offbeat. And that was a big challenge to accept and get better at, and wanting to get better and improve. And so it's been a challenge, but it's exciting to just be transparent and just put yourself out there. And yeah, I never claimed to be good at singing, but my first song that I've ever made is a big hit, I guess.
We're proud of you, Anita. And Anita's gone a long way with her singing, so we're very proud of you.
Sorry, but also not sorry for forcing you, because it was not consensual. It was like, we're doing this and I'm gonna make you sing and you're gonna have a solo, and it's just like but
it's so terrible. Now I go back and listen, I'm like, just listen to the acoustic, please. The original, like the parody of Stop Stop that we did, the audio in there, terrible. But you know, it's okay. Like, I've learned to accept it, and I always tell them, like, now that I have a really good mic, just wait, give me a few more years as I improve, and then we'll do like a new cover of it or something.
Oh, I gotta think on this one.
This is a hard one, but something that came to mind, after kind of reflecting on the question, is that I think, walking into the territory of being a content creator, there's a lot of things that come with it. And if I'm being, completely honest and transparent with my experience as a content creator, we talked about the view counts too. When people start liking your product, or they start liking the content you create, and you see those numbers start to increase, the human part of us tells us, wow, I'm liked, and you feel good about it. And you're like, wow, I guess this is actually working. And there's that feeling that comes along with it that kind of gives you that high. I don't know how to explain it, to give it, a complete definition, but there's that high. And I would say my biggest struggle was that part right there, wanting to keep doing it. And in the process of that, I forget about the other important things, like I mentioned before, my relationship. I never thought about like how that would impact my spouse. Having tons of fans contact me, putting my time out there to respond, and then also my kids, my time being taken away from content creating, and then not being there for my kids, because now I found this new thing that drew me into it. So I think for me, at least personally, that was one of my biggest struggles, was trying to find that balance and hearing out the people who are struggling in the process to connect with me, because I've dedicated so much time. So that's the biggest challenge I had to overcome. And to really say what helped me was to listen to the people around me, to pay attention to what's going on, and not to listen to respond, but to listen and to reflect on what's happening.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think it's when you get like the likes and the views and the comments and stuff like that and the reacts, it definitely, well, you more shallow, right? But I think at some point you just have to like kind of take a break too from social media and disconnect and just, like put that aside so that you can really focus on like reality in real life and stuff too. Jack or Kevin, do y'all want to answer this question?
Yeah, I can answer next. I think one of my biggest challenge for me so far is definitely, I feel like, just finding the amount of people to do the kinds of videos you want to do. So I would like have a really good idea and be like, oh yeah, it'd be so fun to do this kind of a video, but I need like, I need all of High to be there, or I need a couple more people to be there. And it's like, oh man, like that's definitely been the difficult part, then you can't really do the projects and you kind of have to find ways around it. And then that'll just kind of make you have to postpone your projects, and then you can't post it for a while. So then you have to constantly be thinking about different ideas and different videos. So I think it's definitely a challenge of just how to work around with, so to say, COVID, right? Like, how do we work around this, and how do we continue to put out content for our viewers without, putting ourselves at risk for, health issues and things like that. So I think that's definitely the biggest challenge so far right now for me.
For me, I guess the challenge every time is like when we have to write like a script, or like a really big script. I think it's like it's challenging, but and I guess it is the biggest challenge, but then we always overcome it because it's always just like pushing through, and we know that we have to get our work done because we have a deadline, and we're getting paid, and so it's like just do it, and put yourself in the mood, and get your head in the zone and do whatever it is that you have to do, whatever style you have to do it in. Like for me, I have to have everything organized. I have to go from the beginning and then over and over again. And that's something that we all like to do as well too. And we understand that, some of us like to do that and say, okay, well, no, okay, makes sense. Then we continue on, right? And then like, as we move on and we finish one section, we do one section by one section, and then we again start over and make sure it makes sense. And then so that we do know it in and out, because we, like I said, all four of us, we want to know it that bad. We want it to make sense that bad. That's what we do, and we do that every single time when it comes to writing a script that is like super long, and so, yeah.
Something I guess like my biggest challenge or challenges is like not feeling like, and again, this is me being, a hard critic to myself, right? And it's like not feeling like I'm at the same level as all the rest of my team, right? So it's like, oh, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that. So then I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm pulling everyone behind, but I eventually just learn the Kevin Heisman, like Kevin, if you want to do something, you just research, you learn about it, dial these buttons or whatever, right? So like, I think that's for me, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I want to try to take on like editing a video, Jack. Let me edit this video. Let me take on these smaller videos, and I'm like, oh, how do I fix this green screen, and I have to like learn these things. So those challenges come, and it's about like, again, like those skills. So it's like I'm always feeling like I'm not there, and we are all in different parts of like our skills here in our team, which is very unique at the same time. But we lean on each other, and I think it could be a challenge for me when I feel like I'm not there, understanding certain things, or not understanding why we're doing it like this, or like why is he doing it like this, or why is she doing it like that, and I'm like, I don't understand. So it's just being able to not force, I shouldn't say force, but like to find that courage to learn and be better, so.
I'm muted, sorry. I definitely feel like when you work in a group too, y'all, like I think my biggest fear is always that like I'm slacking, and so like when I feel like Olivia's working hard, then it's like it makes me want to step up too, right? Because I would never want to feel like I'm just coming along for the ride and you have to like do all of the work. And so I think when you see the growth in your partner, you also want to like step up to the plate and make sure that you're contributing as well. And then wanted to make one comment on Anita singing. I think that one of the greatest things about being a content creator is like being uncomfortable, right? Getting out of your shell and having your partners like push you and make you do things that, like that are out of the norm. I think that it's great to like for your own personal growth, and then also like having somebody else Heiko, like I would say Olivia's like really down to do stuff, and so then I have to be really down to do stuff, right? Because I definitely don't want her to feel like I'm always giving these crazy ideas, and then when she gives the idea I can't be like, no, I don't want to do that. I definitely feel like now I'm always like, sure, I'm down, even though I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how.
Trust in each other, believe in each other.
Exactly. So we have one other question from the audience, and then I'm going to go into our last question. So the question is, who are your mentors, or who do you look up to? And that could be like in the content creation, or that could be, anybody in your personal life.
Well, I guess I could go first. I guess all the people we look up to, including Calvin. We definitely look up to a lot of those, content creators that were at HCon. And the cool thing is, ever since that HCon event, we were able to connect with all of these, content creators, and they were pretty much like, the people we look up to, so we were able to work with them and, talk with a few of them. And that also helped motivate us to do more with our content creating. So, yeah, I think for me at least, the people I look up to is definitely all those content creators that we've met at HCon.
I actually, I have a mentor who helps me. I recently just got a mentor for audio engineering, and because that is something that I want to work on, and I just want to again be that serious and be that passionate about it that I found a program for myself to put me in this situation where I could go to somebody and talk to them about my experiences and my progress, and learn from them, and learn what the basics are, what the standards are, and learn the lingo and learn the do's and the don'ts, because I think that's just very important, because all these years I've been learning by myself, doing research by myself too. But then also I just thought, well, what if I did find a mentor, or put myself in that situation, or go to school for it, get a certificate in whatever subject, I think that's just very, very important and says a lot in whatever it is that you do want to learn and to develop. So, yeah, I'm just very thankful to be accepted into the program and to have my mentor as my mentor. And for people that I look up to, or I guess just people that inspire me, many people inspire me. Many different types of people inspire me for, I guess, many reasons. And I'll just keep it short because I just want to mention them because I just love them so much. Of course, first of all, my friends, and my mom, and what is it, Kalia Universe, and Banya Hyung, Nikita, just to name a few.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with Kevin too. I have different mentors in different parts of my lives, right? But when it comes to content creating, I feel like I look up to a lot of other just content creators, right? Like, who do I watch more? I watch these people because I like their content, and I am inspired by them. But not just content creators, I'm also very inspired, and I'm inspired by the community, because I feel like, I resonate with the community more. So when the community's, wanting something, or they are asking for something, or like, just anything, I get inspired off of them. And I feel like that's why I want to do the things that I do. And so, people like the community, the fans, the supporters, they are very, a big part of my inspiration, when it comes to content creating. So.
Yeah, like everyone said, it's also the same with me. I have different mentors for different aspects of my life. But as for content creating, I learn a lot from my members, and through what they know more than me. Everyone's going to know more than you at one point or at all parts of your life. And if you go in just being a student and willing to just soak up that type of information and kind of use that to help yourself, when we went to HCon, like everyone there, I was just trying to like network as best as I can. And let's see, YouTubers that really inspired me, Wong Fu is one of them, Canto Mando. That's just to say the least. But yeah, and it's funny because when we look at like those platforms and like Fung Bros or things like that, like they're all like East Asians and not many people are Hmong, and that's what truly inspired us to build our own platform. And so now I can say like, oh yeah, now I watched like Ning Nao on on Facebook, and Calvin for Dictum Dose, and Mina Yang, and so there's so many others out there that's kind of building that path for like Hmong Americans content creators. So that's really nice.
I agree with that. I feel like growing up, all the content that I watch, I haven't seen a whole lot of, representation of Hmong people. And I think that's what really drove me to kind of put myself out there too, so that we have representation out there. I want my kids to grow up feeling comfortable being who they are. We talked about like the journey, this whole process has been like a personal journey too. And I think it helps to do that. You can see someone and be like, wow, I can identify with that, or that resonates with me. And that relatability is what, helps at least inspires me to do what I do. In terms of like content, I would say my mentor, my mentor basically is like my family. My wife, she's really critical of my stuff. She'll say, oh, your hair doesn't look right. Let me change your hair a little bit. Or like what I'm wearing, she's like, wear this instead. Or like my background, I don't know anything about plants, or I have no like creativity with like interior design. So she does all of that. There's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that makes up my content and makes up Dictum Dose. My parents especially, they're the ones who really help me put out the content. Like I'll put out a video and then 5 minutes later I get a phone call and I pick up, it's my mom. And she's like, Neifu, I'm like, oh, really? Like she'll call me and tell me you're doing this wrong. And then one day, I was at my parents' house and I hear my voice. I'm like, I'm not talking. Like, what's going on here? And I go upstairs and they're having dinner, watching my videos on their laptop. And I'm like, what the heck are you guys doing? They're like, Neifu, come here, listen to this. And so they're very like super critical about like, things I put out. And they really help me, in terms of like my mom, just the way that I explain things to make sure that it makes sense too. That what I'm saying is also correct, so that what I'm teaching is not just content, but it's accurate content as well.
I love that. I said I had one other question, but I'm curious. Like, so so my parents watch our show, and it kind of makes me just like, I don't know. It like when my mom had told me that she watches our show, it just makes me feel really good inside. And I was just watching something else about like athletes and stuff, like Hmong athletes, and they were saying how they really liked it when their parents would show up for their events, and I think that's the same feeling. So do you know if your parents watch your show? Like, how does that, does it make you do anything differently? I try to be as like myself as possible, right? Because it's like I can't watch everything I say, or sometimes I'm sure I say stuff that they're like, oh my gosh, but I think it's nice, and like Calvin says, right, like it's nice to get that confirmation from our parents that they're like, oh my gosh, like that's my kid on like a screen, even if you have a small following. Like it's just nice to know that your parents not to you enough to like watch your stuff, right?
When Stop first came out, sorry, Kelvin. When Stop first came out, my dad messaged me. He goes, as a viewer, great. This is great stuff. As a dad, cringe.
For me, like my parents, they don't really watch the stuff because I think it's just not their kind of content, right? Like all that stuff. So this is like not their area. But once in a while, I'll pop in and like I'll be like, hey mom, did you see this? And then like she'll look, she's like, oh, so she knows what I do. And but there was one time where she did surprise me, though. I guess like a video surfaced on her Facebook and she said, oh yeah, I saw your new video. And of course, like that gave me like butterflies, like, oh wow, like I didn't have to tell her, and she just came across it and she watched it on her own. She watched it all. And so that's yeah, I think is probably the same feeling. But yeah, not too many times we don't really talk about it, just because like I said, I don't think it's their content. But yeah, there are people like that, so but yeah.
One time my dad he dropped a GIF as a comment, and I was like, what? Is that really my dad? I'm like, that does that? Like he upgraded like his Facebook comment skills, and he dropped a GIF, and it was the one where it does a thumbs up. And I'm like, wow, is that really my dad? Like that's so weird, but
who hacked
so
you?
Great. I'm right. Oh yeah, what? Makes no sense, but yeah, it was very validating just to see that and to see the interaction too within the content. And my mom, she's always like "hatao zhong" when she says that. And it makes me feel good that wow, I've actually done it. But then there's always a second follow up to that. That's she.
But
Tôi phá cái chụp lá hầu đó. Chụp lá hầu lại. Tôi phá cái con mà. So mom, if you're watching right now, look at my hair. I cut it. No more long hair, okay? I automate
That's so funny and cute.
So with my so with my parents, I don't think they took it seriously when we first started out. It's only until like other people start like call you, right? Like in public with your parents, or they're like, oh, we saw your video, your daughter's so good, can we get a picture, right? Random relatives will ask me for photos now, and I would like be like, that's kind of weird, but sure. And then I think that really solidified for my parents, like, oh, this is something. And then my parents are quite young, so they're still really tech savvy. My mom actually shared this podcast, so if you're watching, Mom, hi. But yeah, and over time they've become a lot like very supportive in what we create, and just having conversations with them about how, you know, like this platform allowed us to like go like so like so shown, and so there's so many things that that's been really good. And my dad's like, oh yeah, use it as a tool to connect with like, you know, all the generations. And I'm like, yeah, that's the plan for us. You know, that's what we've always wanted to do. So it took them a while to come around to it, but yeah, they've subscribed to like everything that we do now. They're constantly sharing, and they're not commenting or liking things yet, but I'm sure over time they will. So
and for me, I feel like my parents, I feel like they have seen our content, but they just haven't had a talk to me about it. And I feel like they're kind of at the point where they're just kind of open about things, and whether it's, you know, me looking funny and embarrassing myself, I think they're kind of open to it. Be like, okay, you know, like, you know, like, you know, so I guess my parents are open to it because they haven't talked to me about it or asked questions about it, you know. And the good thing too, you know, it's like at least it's not just us, you know, of course, making videos embarrassing ourselves. It's also like, you know, we make videos that we learn for, you know, the Hmong community. We learn things and we want to give that back to the community in a way. So I feel like they see that in some sort of ways too. So that's probably why they don't really like say anything much too. They probably see the good and bad. So yeah.
Yeah, and I had, you know, like brought up that question just because I feel like it's definitely like Calvin says, validating. And I think just, you know, like it's a chance for us to show ourselves as like adults, and just knowing that, you know, like the things that our parents have taught us, you know, like even though we're, you know, I'm not a doctor, you know, but I'm doing something that I think is good with my life, right? And just like learning things and connecting with people. And so I think it's nice for our parents to kind of see that, hey, like maybe we might not have been the doctor, the, you know, surgeon or whatever it is, but that we're finding our own path in our own way. And so I think it's nice to get that acknowledgement, just the amount of work that we each put into the content that we create. Okay, so very last question, I promise, before I get too carried away. And Anita, I love that you brought up Wong Fu, because I think it was a couple of weeks ago I had saw just because I think when I found out about them, I mean, they were already like millions of views like all the time, right? And so I think that sometimes we forget that people start, you know, when they first started, like you don't even know them until like they're big, and then all of a sudden it feels like, oh my gosh, like they're already so big and successful and doing all this stuff. But I think it had been over 10 years of them like perfecting their craft, right, and like getting to this point. And so last question is, what is your goal with your platform? Where do you see yourself in a year and in 5 years?
So who wants to go first? I guess I can go first since I'm talking right now. I think for me, my vision for Hi, you know, in the next year or 5 years, I think in the next year, I feel like we definitely will be planning more of like getting a studio and finding a location for all of us to meet and, you know, really work on our projects, because we're all moving around the same area. But, you know, of course, we're all in our own individual homes. So then we have to figure out where do we want to, you know, work? Where do we want to find a place that allows us to do our work, you know, without distracting other people. And then I think for the 5 years is definitely, trying to be more involved in the community, put more videos out there, just kind of like what we've been doing. But of course, dive into more deeper topics, whether that's like about, other communities like the LGBTQ, or just different types of topics that we want to talk about and bring to our community, so that we can start bringing conversation for everyone and just kind of, open everyone's minds together.
I'm gonna piggyback off of that. I think, yeah, that is the most important thing, because when you ask that, it's just like, oh my gosh, yeah, where do I? But it's like, no, the most important thing is that, you know what, we have a space for us to come and do our work. That is so important, because we don't live together, and we have our own things and stuff like that. And it's like, as open as our homes may be, in the future, it's like we still want to have a place for ourselves to come and do our work, so that when we come there, it's for us to do high. And then we can have other people come and collaborate with us as well too, and have a place, so that whether it's our own content or collaboration content, I think that things could just happen faster and smoother. And because we will never run out of ideas, quoting Jack. But then once we have that space, a better creative space to encourage and to support that, then that would be awesome. So yeah, once everybody, we say,ไปต่อกับ Jack กันเลยเตี้ย so that ไปเถอะ so within Teotoru Studio, but yeah, definitely a space for us to thrive.
Yeah, I think for me too, I think a lot of it aligns with what Jack and Kevin has been saying, but hopefully in a year from now, all four of us are able to create more content together, because, due to COVID, I did not see this a year ago. A year ago we felt like we were going to start thriving then, but COVID happened, and we've been having to figure out how to push out content in other ways, especially when we were all four of us were together at one point, But hopefully in a year from now, we're able to do that more, push out more content. And my hopes in 5 years from now is that this could become more of a full-time thing for us, or at least for me. I want to see High grow into that kind of space for us. Because we do, at least I have a lot of passion, and I love what we do. And I hope that we can continue to keep growing, and that our community and our supporters and fans will still be there with us 5 years from now too. So just to keep it short and simple.
I just want us to be able to maintain our consistency, and to continuously pour out content that not only our fans would enjoy, but things that we would enjoy too. And new things, I want to explore and try to do and experience as many like interesting things with my team as possible. And yeah, like what Brenda said, I want this to be something full time. And if we can get it to that level, then I would be very happy with that. And it's kind of like following like the frameworks of like Wong Fu, where if we can like expand our team, I would love that. We're always open to it. So I know we have a lot of fans who have asked before if like they can join, and I'm like, if you want to work for free, sure, come through.
We're working for free.
Yeah, it's definitely a passion project, and right now everything we pour into High is just it's just for High right now. We're not benefiting much from it besides just all the good things that come with this building a community.
I think for me, hopefully in a year, without the schooling, I'll have more time to push out more content. In 5 years, I hope to be able to go back to what I did before too, and that is speaking in front of people. I think I really enjoy just giving speeches, interacting with people, building relationships. But I think, in terms of content itself, my overall goal really is, really trying to teach people to just be themselves. I talked about earlier this being a personal quest of mine. I think growing up in a Western context, my parents being refugees, there was a disconnect for me. And then going to school, feeling lost, not sure who I was. Want to be more part of like the dominant role, want to be white and not be Hmong anymore, distancing myself from like not wanting to be Fabi, and just being really lost in this. And then within the layer of Hmong community itself, like I always feel like because we're Hmong, like I always felt really like an outsider. 我有咁嘅 school 咯，我用第日上地蒙tlay, and I 我就碰嘢後地蒙tlay, like 我就估想that, gosh, what's wrong with me? Am I the culprit here? And I felt this this sense of wanting to conform, but it just didn't feel right, and just being lost, overall. And I hope that the content that I have continued to push out helps you to realize that, to appreciate your identities, who you are as a person, that it's okay to be comfortable in your skin. And going back to what we talked about earlier, just being your most authentic self. I think when you can be most truest to yourself, that's when you can actually start experiencing this thing we call life and start enjoying it more. So I hope that's the goal that I push, and I hope that's the goal that people start to see in the content I push out.
I love it. And Anita and Brenda, I'm so glad that you guys brought up the full-time thing. I think when you spend so much time on a project, I'm, like I try to speak that into like the universe of like, I do put a lot of time. I feel like anytime anybody texts me, like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, just working all about talk, and that's like Friday night, Saturday, like Sunday.
Yep.
And so I think, when you spend so much time, it's like, yeah, like, it would be nice. And especially like when I'm at work, it's just like, I wish I could just like focus, like what could be, right? If we could just have 8 to 5 of, time to like really pour and make things better and stuff. And so I think thanks for just bringing that up, because that would be great. And I do see Hai as, like a baby Wong Fu, and I definitely feel like, you guys, I want to see you guys keep doing that and like take our community, to the next level, because I do feel like I see a lot of Asian content creators in the US like really thriving and stuff, and I feel like we can definitely do that in the Hmong community as well, and just be at that level. And Calvin, I just appreciate all that. I'm also Hmong, and we had talked about this, about how sometimes because you're Hmong, or is it Hmong or Hmonjo? I feel like I say Hmong, but most people say Hmonjo. But I always feel a little bit like Bano. I just feel like Hmonjo sometimes. I don't know why I have that feeling of Hmonjo being Bano, but I think just growing up, I always feel like all of my friends are like Hmongdao. And so I appreciate seeing a content creator that really just speaks in Hmong. So thank you all for joining us today. I think that you guys really brought it, and thanks for sharing and being vulnerable. Any last words before we part ways?
Thank you for having us. I love this. This was amazing. I think Hmong is so beautiful. I've always wanted to learn, but so that's going to be a challenge. But I love it, and thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. And for sharing this platform with Kelvin as well, too, to be a part of this with Kelvin. I think this is so exciting. So thank you.
It's mind-blowing knowing that we looked up to you and watched you on stage, and now we're in a stream with you. So it's crazy to just think,
It's awesome too, though, to be able to speak and then see that an impact was made, and to see all of you create Hai and to continue to grow, and hope you continue to grow. Thank you, Kylie. Thank you, Olivia, although she couldn't join us.
Yes.
Thanks for having us. This was fun. I hope that after the pandemic is over, we can all come together and have a meal together and just enjoy each other's company.
Yes, I agree.
That's for sure.
Definitely. And I definitely want to, people to continue to create content, right? I feel like when people see content, they build on it, and then other people build on it. And, I always just want to see like the younger generations like be better than what I can do, right? I would love to see other people just continue to progress, and like that's the best gift, is to see like the younger generation be able to become even better than we are, because I know that that's what our parents, that's their hopes and dreams for us, is that when they brought us here, for us to like be able to overcome all the things that they were able to, and just to take hold of the opportunities. And that's what I see in this group of individuals that are taking that opportunity and not being afraid to step up. And so just a quick
So of course you can catch Dictum Dose on his Facebook page. He has the website by the same name, Instagram and YouTube as well. And then for Hi, officially Hi on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook page. And then you can also get their merchandise at hi-merchandise.creator-spring.com/, and I will make sure to put all of that in the comments. And of course, here at All That Talk, we believe that conversations drive change, and change starts with you. And so we hope that with today's episode that you're able to catch lots of good nuggets and be able to create content that you may, want to. And so with that, we will see you again. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.